Oh, can you grab me like some water or something? Please? Can you grab me some water, please? Okay, so we're back again with more conversational Korean grammar. And up until now, if you've been following this live stream, thank you. My husband just brought me some water. If you've been following this live stream, we've been going through and working through learning some Korean grammar alongside this book. And right now, actually, we've been in chapter 2 around here, learning some more grammar. But actually today, I was thinking about kind of going back to basics a little bit and spending a afternoon talking about particles. Hi, Katarina. 안녕하세요. 잘 지냈어요? So I'm thinking about going back to basics and talking about particles. So I know that particles are really difficult for a lot of native English speakers that are learning Korean. We just don't have particles in English, and I know that's something that a lot of people who are learning Korean struggle with. So I thought today we'd go back a little bit and just do a lesson on particles. If you're already pretty comfortable with particles, you don't have to watch this live stream. Don't worry about it. I will keep going later in the week with the more advanced things in this category here. 어떻게 지냈어요? 네, 잘 지냈어요. 이번 주말에 캠핑했어요. I went camping this weekend, and it's been good. So yeah, I'm thinking about going back to some particles. Question, is the book good for beginners? Yes, this book is good for beginners. So this book is good for beginners, and today especially I think will be good for beginners. If you are a beginner Korean learner, I think particles, you're probably not sure about particles, right? I remember when I was first learning Korean, particles were very strange to me. So it's nice a little bit to think about particles and to understand them a little bit more and to have someone help you understand particles as well, which is what I will try and do today. Does this book have intermediate grammar? Yes, it does towards the end of this book. But today in this live stream, I'm going to be covering some beginner grammar and talking about particles. Call me K96 agrees particles are super confusing. Yes. So if you feel that way, if you feel that particles are super confusing, this is a good live stream for you to watch because I'm going to try and explain them to you. And hopefully every single person that's watching this live stream will finish this live stream and be confident with their particles. That is my goal. So feel free to ask questions about this as we're going through so I can help explain particles to you. Question, does it have vocab too? Yes, it does. So the first thing to understand when you're talking about particles is why do they exist? Your voice is really charming. Thank you. So why do particles exist in Korean? This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. And the reason that particles exist in Korean is really to do with sentence structure. So when you're learning about sentence structure is all about these three things: subjects, objects, and verbs. So we have subjects, objects, and verbs in English as well. And actually understanding what these three things are in English will help you make sentences in Korean. Understanding what a subject is, understanding what an object is, understanding what a verb is, these things will help you learn languages in Korean, will help you form sentences in Korean. The reason for that is that these subjects, objects, and verbs are universal concepts in languages. So every language in the world that has ever been invented, as far as we know, have subjects, objects, and verbs. English has it. Any language in the world has subjects, objects, and verbs. And if you can understand how these things work in a sentence, it will make your Korean better. It will make you understand how particles work. Because how sentences are formed in Korean and how sentences are formed in English differ in a very fundamental way, which has to do with particles. So first, let's just try and understand what particles, what subjects and objects are. So you're probably familiar with what a verb is, right? A verb is just some action that's being done. So a verb is an action, right? The subject, actually I have it here. The subject of a sentence is who or what is performing some action or receiving some description. Whereas an object is who or what is receiving some action. So let's first, before we even think about Korean, let's think about this in English, because this will help you. So we have a sentence like, Mary eats an apple. Okay, so in this English sentence, who is performing the action? Who is performing the action in this sentence? Does anyone know who this is? It should be fairly obvious. It's not a trick question. Mary, yes, correct. Mary is the person or thing who is doing the action. She is the subject. Okay? Mary is the subject because she is performing the action. Okay, next question. What is the action being done to? What is the action being done upon? What is receiving the action? Also, not a trick question. Apple, yes, correct. Apple is the object of this sentence. Sagwa, yes. Apple in Korean is sagwa. So apple is the object of the sentence. And final question, what is the verb? What is the verb in this sentence? Sagwa, yeah. Eats, perfect. Thank you, Vian. Yep. So we have three things, right? We've got our subject, we have our object, and we have our verb, which is our S-O-V. S is subject, O is object, and V is verb. And most sentences in Korean will follow this structure, S-O-V. Now in English, we have an S-V-O structure, right? We would say, Mary eats the apple. That's how we would do this in English. But Korean's a bit different. Like Korean goes subject, object, verb. Mary, apple, eats. And a side note, this structure here, S-O-V, is actually more common worldwide in all languages worldwide. S-O-V is actually more common than S-V-O. This is the English structure. So that's one key difference. S-O-V is the Korean structure and S-V-O is the English structure. There's another very important difference. The English has a very rigid sentence structure. This is all going to come back to particles. So English is a very rigid sentence structure. In English, you can't go changing the order of words around without changing the meaning of the sentence. Right? You can't say, apple Mary eats, right? That's weird. You can't say, eats Mary apple. You can't say, apple eats Mary. All of these sentences are strange in English, right? You can't really use those sentences in English. But this is the very key difference here. But in Korean, you can put words in basically any order. You can order words in basically any order in a Korean sentence, and the overall meaning will not change because of particles. So that's a key difference between Korean and English. English is a very rigid sentence structure, right? You can't go moving words around. You can't go changing them around without really affecting the meaning of your sentence or making it grammatically incorrect. In Korean, as long as those particles stay attached to their nouns, you can put words in basically any order without it changing the meaning. So here we have this sentence, right? 메리가 사과를 먹어요. So 메리가 사과를 먹어요. And I know a lot of people in the comments have already been creating this sentence, so that's great. In this thing, we have Mary is the subject. She's the one doing the action. We have the object 사과 that's receiving the action. And we have the verb 먹어요, which is to eat. So Mary apple eats. And we have the particles. We have the 가 particle for the subject. We have the 를 particle for the object. And we have 먹어요, the verb. So question for you. This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. Let's say, so 메리가 사과를 먹어요 means Mary eats an apple, right? If I say 사과를 메리가 먹어요, what does this mean in Korean or in English? What does this sentence mean in English? If I was to translate 사과를 메리가 먹어요, what does that mean in English? And this is where your understanding of particles comes into play. Remember that particles is what determines sentence structure in Korean. Apple Mary eats. Yes, same as before. The birds have changed. Yes. This still means Mary eats an apple. It means the exact same thing because the particles have not changed. 사과 is still the object because of the object particle. Mary is still the subject because of the subject particle. So Mary is still the person doing the action, and 사과 is still the thing receiving the action. This book is Conversational Korean Grammar. So 사과 is still the object, and Mary is still the subject. If you place the verb, does it change? No. So let's say we say 먹어요. 사과를 메리가. What does this mean in Korean? Can you say this in Korean? 먹어요. 사과를 메리가. 먹어요. 사과를 먹어요. What does this mean in English? It means still the same. Yes, SDF. That it still is the exact same sentence. You've got to turn off your English brain that's telling you that this sentence has changed. It has not changed. The sentence is still the same because these particles are still on the same nouns. 사과 is still the object and Mary is still the subject. Yes. Is it weird because the verb's supposed to be last? Yes. So if you can say this sentence in Korean and every Korean person will understand you. If you say 먹어요, 사과를 메리가, every Korean person will be able to understand you without any problems. But it is a little bit unnatural because it doesn't follow the SOV sentence structure, which is the most natural way in Korean. So the most natural way is 메리가 사과를 먹어요. But you can say any of these orders and the meaning is still exactly the same. Is it common to use any of them as a native? This one will be the most common, but you very likely might hear things like this in conversation, depending just on different circumstances. The important thing to know is about the position of the particles is the most important thing for determining sentence structure and sentence meaning in Korean. Okay, so now let's say we switch the particles, right? So let's say 사과가 메리를 먹어요. So in all of these previous sentences, the particle has stayed on the same noun, right? But now we have this. So now what does this sentence mean in English? 사과가 메리를 먹어요. Now the apple ate Mary. Yes, call me. This is a very cruel world, right? This is a world where apples can consume people. So the apple is eating Mary. Now this sentence has changed meaning because the particles have changed. Now the apple is the subject. The apple is the one performing the action of eating, and Mary is the object. Mary is receiving the action of eating. So the apple is eating Mary. This is what this sentence means because the particles have changed. So it should be 메리가 사과를 먹어요. Mary should be the subject, right? Mary is the person. 사과 should be the object, right? 사과 should be the thing that she is eating, and 먹어요 is the verb. Now this sentence here, it's a grammatically correct sentence, right? You can say that the apple eats Mary. You can say this if you live in a world where apples are eating people. If you're writing a fantasy story about, killer apples, this could be a correct sentence. But, generally it's not, probably not going to be a correct sentence. So keep this in mind when you're learning particles, the subject and the object. I have your book and would like to learn with you. I do these live streams regularly, so usually at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. So yeah, feel free to follow me along and I will be going through these books. There are stories about killer tomatoes. Yeah, if you're writing a story about killer tomatoes, the tomato could very well be the subject of your sentence. The tomato could be doing the eating or doing the killing. As for the time of live streams, generally around now, just on different days. Okay, so now we've talked about word order a little bit. We're going to practice a little bit more about particles. So what are particles? So we just learned that they denote what is the action or the object and subject of the verbs. So let's just recap, right? We'll do a quick recap using this book. Conversational Korean Grammar is the name of this book. I can show you the title page here. This is what the cover looks like. So we're using this book and we're talking about particles. So recap. In English, we denote the subjects and objects of verbs by noticing their placement in a sentence. Because of this, the order of words in English is very important. In English, you cannot rearrange words in a sentence without changing the sentence's meaning. However, Korean, remember, does not work this way. Korean uses particles to denote which part of the sentence a noun is. For example, which nouns are the subject and object of the verb. Because of this, as long as nouns are not separated from their designated particles, words in Korean sentences can be written in almost any order, and the meaning of the sentence does not change. So this is what we saw when we did this practice, right? You can rearrange words in a sentence, and as long as these particles still stay attached to the same nouns, the meaning of your sentence does not change. It does not change. And this is the key difference from English. If you rearrange the words in a sentence in English, the meaning will change. But in Korean, potentially not, as long as these particles still stay on the same nouns. And that is the role that particles play, right? That is why particles are so important in Korean, because they tell you who is doing the action or what is receiving the action. So particles in Korean are really very important. They're very important because they tell you what's happening. The order of words in the sentence has basically no importance. It does not matter at all. Okay, so the other thing to know about particles is that there's two sides. There's two sides to the coin. Can I do another example? Yeah, sure. Let's do one more example. Why not? Let's do another example of particles. Let's say I study Korean. Particle 한국어로 무슨 말이에요? I actually don't know the word for particle in Korean. I've always learned about particles in English, so I'm not actually sure. If anyone knows what the word is for particle in Korean, let KKRchu know. So, for example, I study Korean. Who is doing the action in this sentence? Who is performing the action in this sentence? Does anyone know? Again, not a trick question. Is this book on Kyobo? I believe so. Yes, Ruzax. I is the subject. I is the subject. Me, yes, I or me is the subject of this sentence. I am doing the action of studying. Okay, so what is the object? What is the object in this sentence? What is receiving the action of studying? Korean, yes. Korean is the object of this sentence, right? Korean is receiving the action of studying, which leaves us to our final thing. Study is the verb. These are the three components that make up all languages worldwide. You have subjects, objects, and you have verbs, which is the S-O-V structure. S for subject, O for object, and V for verb. Subject, object, verb. So, 제가 is I with the subject particle. Okay. 제가 한국어를 공부해요. We have the 가 particle because I am the subject. We have the 를 particle because Korean is the object. And we have 공부해요 because study is the verb, right? So, 제가 한국어를 공부해요. And by the way, people have been asking about the difference between 제가 and 저는 or 이하 versus 은는. If you want to practice this, we have a video pinned at the top of our profile on TikTok. So go and watch that video. I see someone else is just saying, why not chonin? Yeah, so generally chonin would be probably more natural here. But I'm using 제가 just because we're talking about 이하 versus 을로. And here we're talking about 제가 being the subject of our sentence. So we're using the 가 particle. But 저는 is also, yes, 저는 is more natural. 저는 is more natural here. Let me write it down. But I'm just talking about the 이하 and the 을로 particle. Hi, 선생님, can we use 을로 with adjectives? You cannot use 을로 with adjectives, only with action verbs. But that's a slightly different topic than we're talking about here. So, 제가 한국어를 공부해요. Or 저는 한국어를 공부해요. So, what if we change the order of words in this sentence? Okay, so we have our subject, right? We have our 가, and we have our object. We have our 를. Okay, so what if I say 한국어를 제가 공부해요. Is this an okay sentence in Korean? Yes, it is. You can say this in Korean and everybody would understand you. Native Koreans would not use 제가. Yes, 저는 sounds better. I am aware. I know 저는 is better. We are talking about the subject and object particles. This might have been a poor choice of example because I know 저는 is better. If you want to practice these differences, go watch the video on our channel. So, 한국어를 제가 공부해요. What would that be? It's still the same, right? Okay, people are complaining about something. Okay, we'll do a different example. We're not going to use 제가 or 저는. Let's do a different one because people don't like that. Okay, let's do Tommy 한국어를 공부해요. Now we're talking about Tom. Okay? So Tom 한국어를 공부해요. Tom studies Korean, right? We have 이, our subject, and we have 를, thanks guys, is the object. Okay, so Tom is the object, 한국어를 is the subject. If I say 한국어를 Tom이 공부해요. Has the meaning changed? Has the meaning changed between these sentences? 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요. Or is it the same? Yeah, no, the meaning has not changed, right? Thank you. It's not changed because the particles are still in the same nouns. It does not matter what order the words are in Korean, as long as these particles are still on the same nouns, the meaning does not change, right? Tom is still studying Korean because Tom is the subject and 한국어를 is the object. 한국어를 Tom이 공부해요. If you say this in Korean, every Korean person will understand you. So adding 를 proves that it's the object. Yes, adding 를 proves to the listener that this is the object of your sentence. A way we like to think about particles is that particles are like flags. We can see it right here. Particles are like flags. The noun is just handing a little flag. It's waving a little flag at you. And that flag is the particle. Okay, so 한국어를 Tom이 공부해요 is still a fine sentence in Korean. It's not as natural as this sentence because this sentence follows the SOV structure, whereas this one does not. But what if I say Tom을 한국어가 공부해요. Now, has the sentence changed? Has the sentence changed? It most certainly has, right? Yes. Yeah. So the sentence has changed meaning because now Korean is the subject. Korean is doing the action of studying. This is very strange, right? I don't imagine any situation where this could be true because how can a language study anything? I don't know. But in this sentence, this is what you are saying. You're saying that 한국어 is the subject, and you're saying that Tom is the object. So you're saying that Korean is studying Tom. Tom is receiving the action of study from Korean. It doesn't make sense, right? There's no situation that I can think of where this would be true. You'd have to say one of these other options. So this is why these particles are so important in Korean. I think it's very common when you're learning to be kind of afraid of particles. You're not sure which one to use. And you might have learned that, you can drop the particles, which is true. You can drop the particles if things are clear from context, and it's particularly common in speaking. You can just drop the particles. And that's true. And it's dangerous to hear that as a learner, I believe, because then you think, oh, well, I'm just never going to use the particles. I'm just always going to drop the particles, which can lead you in the wrong direction, right? Because these particles are very important. They tell you what's happening. They tell you what's going on. So keep that in mind. When you're thinking about things, okay, who is doing the action? That's the subject. Who is receiving the action? That's the object. So keep that in mind when you're making sentences in Korean. And it'll help you make better sentences. Okay, so this is the book, Conversational Korean Grammar. Okay, so now let's do a little bit more practice. The only other thing to know is that I actually don't think I finished this thought before. I mentioned before that Ika and Urul have two halves, right? They've got two sides, depending on whether the noun ends on a a vowel or a consonant. So I made this little table here. 안녕하세요. 어떻게 지냈어요? 저는 프랑스어입니다. 네. Thank you for being here. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So I made this little table where you can see these things. So if it's a subject, you use I or ka. If it's an object, you use or le. And depending if the noun ends on a consonant or a vowel, you activate two different sides of these particles. They are exactly the same in meaning. I, ka are exactly the same in meaning, and le are exactly the same in meaning. There's no difference between them. They are exactly the same. The only difference is that I goes after nouns ending in consonants, ka goes after nouns ending in vowels. And for the topic particle, it's a little bit same thing, versus n. And it's a little bit different from these guys. Again, I recommend you check out a video pinned on our profile. We talk about the topic particle, specifically contrasting the topic particle with the subject particle. Okay, so let's practice adding the subject particle to some nouns. So here we had Mary before, right? So Mary ends on a vowel, and if we want to make her a subject, we add ka. Right? Mary ka. Mary I is not correct because Mary ends on a vowel sound. You should use ka instead of I. The reason this difference exists is purely for pronunciation. It's easier for your mouths to move between vowels and consonants than it is to double up vowels or double up consonants. So that's the only reason this difference exists, really. It's just to make it easier for you to pronounce. So, Mary ends on a vowel sound, so we add ka. Okay, what about sagwa? Sagwa, does it end on a vowel sound or a consonant sound? Sagwa, it means apple. Sagwa ends on a vowel sound or consonant sound. Ka, yes, you've jumped ahead. It ends on a vowel sound, right? This is a vowel sound. So, because it's a subject, ends on a vowel, we add ka. Sagwa, ka. What about another one? What about 사람? 사람 means person. 사람 means person. And this ends on a consonant sound. Yes, one calico cat. One thing here ends on a consonant sound. So we add E. Okay. I have some more practice problems over here to practice on. Okay, so what about Tom? Tom, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit. Tom ends on a consonant sound. So what do we add to Tom? Min, yes. Becomes Tom E. What about Sophie? This is, by the way, Tom. This is Sophie. What about Sophie? Or Sophie? Sophie가, yes. Because it ends on a vowel sound, so it becomes Sophie가. What about Sarah? What about Sarah? How do you add the subject particle to Sarah? Min, yes, it's ka. Sarah ka. And what about Mary? We've had Mary before. Actually, we have it right here. So that gives it away a little bit. Mary ka. Okay. So that's how the subject particle kind of works in Korean. There's just those two sides. Again, it's purely for pronunciation. It means the same thing. I and ka mean the same thing. Okay, so what about this sentence right here? Tom이 공부해요. So we have an action of 공부해요 and we have Tom. How would we translate this sentence into English? We've used this verb a few times just in before this, so you probably recognize this verb 공부해요. Tom studies, yes. Tom studies. What about this next one? Does anyone know what 요리해요 means in Korean? I see someone saying Tom is studying. Yes, you can also translate this to Tom is studying. So what about this next one? 메리가 요리해요. 메리가 요리해요 is Mary cooks. Yes. A few people here know that 요리하다, 요리해요 is to cook. So 메리가 요리해요 means Mary cooks. What about this last one? 소피가 먹어요. If you're familiar with 먹어요, it's probably one of the verbs you might know in Korean. It's a very important verb in Korean. 먹어요. 소피가 먹어요. Sophia eats. Yeah. Sophia or Sophie eats. Sophie eats or Sophia eats. However, your name is. 소피가 먹어요. Okay, so what about going the other way? Here we had Korean and we are going into English. Now let's take some English and translate it into Korean. Is the yo at the end a particle? That's a good question. But no, this yo is not a particle. It's actually present tense in casual, polite formality. 도리나가 인기 많아요? 진짜요? Oh my gosh, you're right. 맞아요. 사람이 너무 많아요. So this yo is actually an ending that's used to indicate present tense in casual, polite formality. Korean has different formality levels depending on who you're talking to. So this yo is conversational and it's polite. It's formal, but it's not super formal. Okay. So, Tom이 요리해요. Oh, your fave Dora. Beautiful. Tom cooks is indeed Tom이 요리해요. This is the same 요리해요 as it is up here with 메리가 요리해요. We've just changed the subject, right? Here the subject was Mary because she had the car subject particle. And now the subject is Tom. And he has the same particle. It's just the flip side. I and ka are the same particle, just two halves of the same coin. So 메리가 요리해요 is Mary cooks. Tom이 요리해요 is Tom cooks. Mary eats. Yes, Mary eats is 메리가 먹어요. Tom이 요리했습니다. Yes, that's yeah. So it would be written 요리합니다 is the honorific way of saying cook. 요리합니다 is the honorific version of 요리해요. Okay. Mary eats. 메리가. So we have 메리가, that's correct, because Mary is the subject of our sentence. So we have 메리가. She is doing the action of eating. And 먹어요. 먹어요 is to eat. So Mary eats. Mary, subject, eats. Sophie studies. Sophie 공부해요. And what particle do we use? 소피가 공부해요. Sophie ends on a vowel sound, so we add ka, just like Mary. See this E sound. Sophie, Mary. So we add the ka subject particle. 소피가 공부해요. Beautiful. And last one, Sarah cooks. So we have the same verb as before, but just a different person. So a different subject is performing the action of cooking. This time, Sarah is cooking. Subject particles. Fun, yes. Going back to basics here. Sarah가 요리해요. Beautiful. Sarah가 요리해요. Again, Sarah ends on a vowel sound, so we add ka, this subject particle, to show that Sarah is the person who is doing the action of 요리해요. She's doing the action of cooking. She is the subject of the sentence. Tom is the only one that had the E particle because he's the only one that ends on a consonant sound. All these three ladies end on a vowel sound, so they have ka. There's the difference between 고마워요 and 감사합니다. 감사합니다 is a little bit more formal. 고마워요 is polite but not as formal. Okay. So now we are going to look at objects. Okay. So we just looked at subjects, right, and attaching the subject particle. Now let's look at the object particle. So remember that the subject of the particle is who or what is doing the action, and the object particle is who or what is receiving the action. And we have two sides again. Object, if it ends on a consonant, you add and if it ends on a vowel, you add l. And again, this is purely for pronunciation. It's just to make it easier for your mouth to say. And I see people already going ahead with the answers, so good job. The first one is indeed 한국어를, because 한국어 ends on a vowel sound. Because it ends on a vowel sound and it's the object, you add l. What about 영어? Everyone's getting ahead of me. What about 영어? 영어를? Beautiful. Because 영어 ends on a vowel sound. Oh, by the way, 한국어 is Korean and 영어 is English. What is why not Tommy가? If your name is Tommy, you can use Tommy가. Like if your name is Tommy, not Tom, you could say Tommy가. But if your name is Tom, you would say Tommy. Yeah. So bang is banger, yes. What does bang mean in Korean? Bread, yes. Beautiful. Thank you, Tiongs. And we add this time because it ends on a consonant. This nieng is a consonant in Korean, so it becomes banger. Okay. If you need to practice with the alphabet, feel free to check that as well. That's fine. Okay, pizza. Pizza is pizza. And it ends on a vowel sound. So what does pizza become when you add which particle do you add to pizza? 피자를, yes. 피자를. It becomes the object of the sentence and it ends on a vowel sound, so you add 를. What about 고기? What does 고기 mean in Korean? Anyone know what 고기 is? Yeah, moonwalk. It means meat. And it ends on a vowel sound, so it becomes 고기를. And what about this last one? 물. What does 물 mean in Korean? Water. Avesen, yes. 물 is water. And it becomes 물을 because it ends on a consonant. This lir is a consonant. It becomes muder. Beautiful. So now we've practiced adding the subject particle and the object particle. Let's make some sentences. This practice book actually is not available yet. This is kind of, I just printed off some practice pages from a book that we're still working on, and this book isn't finished yet, but it will be published later this year. What books do you recommend in learning Hangul? I don't know exactly what Hangul books are good, but I know there's plenty available, so I would just do an Amazon search, find one that looks good. And actually, Korean is an alphabet-based language. I was someone say that it wasn't an alphabet-based language, but Korean is an alphabet-based language. Okay, so this first one, we have the sentence, Tom이 한국어를 공부해요. So we actually had this sentence before, and someone has already translated this into English. I saw someone say it. This means Tom studies Korean. Tom is the subject because we know this because it has the subject particle. And we know what he's doing is studying because that's the verb. And we know what he's studying is Korean because that is the object with the object particle. Tom studies Korean. What about this? 사라가 영어를 공부해요. Beautiful moonwalk. Sara studies English. 영어 is English, and this is the object of the sentence. Do we have other books? Yes, we have lots of books available, so check them out. We have a link in our bio to our website. Okay, next one. 메리가 빵을 먹어요. 메리가 빵을 먹어요. What would this be in English? We have Mary, we have 빵, and we have 먹어요. Mary eats bread. Yes. Beautiful. I see a lot of people say that correctly. 빵 is bread, and it's the object of the sentence. Mary is the subject of the sentence, so we know Mary eats bread. What about this last one here? 소피가 피자를 좋아해요. 소피가 피자를 좋아해요. Now we have a couple more words, including this 좋아하다 one, which I'm not sure that we've learnt yet. Cindy, yes. Sophie likes pizza. This 좋아하다, this 좋아해요 verb means to like something. So Sophie is the person who does the liking. She's the subject. Pizza is the object who receives the liking. So Sophie likes pizza. Okay. I'm not going to do all these because I think you guys have got it. What I am going to do is this page though. So this is just to tie everything together. So now we're going to be looking at these particles together in a sentence. First of all, let's refresh, right? What is the subject? What is the object? Just to really understand this concept. This is the key concept. If I want to take you, if I want you to take away like one thing from this live stream, is just to remember what is a subject, what is an object. That is the key thing. So this is what we're going to do right now. So we have a sentence. 사라가 샐러드를 먹어요. Is the hair on the verb a conjugation? Yes, it is present tense conjugation. 사라가 샐러드를 먹어요. Yes. So, what is the subject? Sara is the subject. Because Sara has the subject particle. Let me highlight it. And so what is the object? The object is salad. 샐러드 is kind of the, whoop, got a bit blurry there. My camera is not focusing. There we go. The object is salad. What about this one? 톰이 메리를 좋아해요. What is the subject of this sentence? 톰이 메리를 좋아해요. Tom is the subject, correct. Thank you, Luna, Farah. And the object, what is the object of this sentence? Tom loves Mary. Yes, Mary is the object. So Tom is doing the action of liking, and Mary is receiving the action of liking. And we know this because of these particles. This is what our particles are doing in this sentence. Okay, third one. 소피가 음식을 요리해요. What is the subject? The subject is who is doing the action? Sophie, yes. Beautiful. What about the object? What is receiving the action? Food, yes. 음식 is food. And we know what these roles are in the sentence because we see these particles, right? These particles is what is telling us what's happening in the sentence. Okay, last one. 메리를 톰이 좋아해요. What is the subject of this sentence? And this might trick some people. So what is the subject first? Mary, yes. Mary is the, wait, no, I see, I've tricked you. Who is the subject? Tom. Tom is the subject. Because Tom has the subject particle, right? Tom has the ika subject particle. I'm sorry if I confused you. So subject here is Tom, and the object, what is the object? Mary. So notice how these two sentences, 톰이 메리를 좋아해요 and 메리를 톰이 좋아해요, are the same. This is the same sentence. Tom likes Mary. In both of these sentences, Tom likes Mary. Because Tom is doing the action and Mary is receiving the action in both of these sentences. So this is the key thing to remember again. 어느 사람입니까? 저는 뉴질랜드 사람이에요. Okay, and final example that I hope will really drive this home is we are going to complete these sentences. Okay, so we have a sentence and we have to fill in their particles to make it match the English. So this sentence needs to say, Mary likes pizza. Okay, so Mary is the subject, right? Mary likes pizza. Pizza is the object. So what particle do I need to put here? What particle goes here? 메리가, yes, beautiful. Because Mary is the subject. And then pizza or pizza, Cindy, yes. 피자를 좋아해요. 메리가 피자를 좋아해요. What about this next one? Tom likes apples. Tom is the subject and apples is the object. So, Tom eat, yes, beautiful. And this one, 사과. 사과를, yes, because 사과, apple, is the object. Tom is doing the liking and the 사과 is receiving the liking. You're Korean, yes. Okay, next one. Yes, you can use un on any of these sentences Right now, we're just practicing I, ka, and le. But you can use un and nun on these words as well. Okay, next one. Sophie studies Korean. 한국어 소피 공부해요. So be careful here, right? Sophie is the subject. Korean is the object. So, what do I put by 한국어? What do I put here? 를, yes. This is 를, because 한국어 needs to be the object receiving the action of studying. And Sophie is the person doing the studying, so she is 가. 가 and I, it just depends on whether the noun ends on a consonant or a vowel. So if the noun ends on a consonant, you add I, and if the noun ends on a vowel, you add 가. 한국어를 소피가 공부해요. Okay, next one. Sarah cooks food. Sarah is the subject. Food is the object. Why ka and not nun? Just because we're practicing I, ka, and le. Nun may be more natural in most situations, but okay. Sarah cooks food. So food is 음식. And I see people saying this correctly. Yes, it needs to be because 음식 is the object receiving the action of cooking from Sarah. Sarah is doing the action of cooking. Okay, next one. Tom likes Sophie. How do we say Tom likes Sophie? So Tom is the subject. Sophie is the object. So Tommy, yes, 수박. Tommy and Sophie, call me, yes. This next one is le. Because Sophie is receiving the action of liking from Tom. Tom gave up on Mary fast. Yeah, Tom's getting around here. Okay. Now he likes Sophie. Okay, next one. What about saying Sophie likes Tom? Okay, so now Sophie likes Tom. So Sophie is the subject and Tom is the object, right? But we still have the same word order here. So now is, yes, Hannah, beautiful. Tommer, beautiful. This is the key difference, right? Now Tom is the object that is receiving the liking from Sophie. So just by changing these particles, you've changed the meaning of the sentence, even though the words are in the same order. 톰을 소피가 좋아해요. Okay, let's do one more example like this. Now, Mary likes Sophie. This is just like a soap opera happening here. Okay, so Mary likes Sophie. And Sophie's just very popular. Okay, Mary is the subject and Sophie is the object. The plot thickens. Yes, indeed. Okay, see people getting it right here. 가. Mary is the subject and Sophie is the object because Mary likes Sophie. Okay, and the reverse. Sophie likes Mary. So Sophie likes Tom and she also likes Mary. I don't know what's happening in this situation. I don't want to know. Okay, but you know I'm happy for them. Whatever makes them all happy. Okay, Mary를, yes, and 소피가. Because Mary is now receiving the action of liking from Sophie. In Portuguese, we call that a rebusit. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. But yeah. Unexpected end to that language lesson. 메리를 소피가 좋아해요. I'm so dumb, I don't even know subject, object, verbs. Don't worry, we all covered that earlier in the live stream. We spent a bunch of time talking about what is a subject, what is an object. So definitely just go and sort of revise that. Basically, the subject is who is doing something, who is performing the action, and the object is who is receiving the action, or what. Who is doing the action and who is receiving the action. And in English, it's always the same, right? We always say subject, verb, object, and the structure does not change. But in Korean, it's more loose, and you can change these orders around, these words around, and as long as the particles stay consistent, the meaning of the sentence does not change. So that was the key thing to take away from this live stream. I have reached the end of this live stream, so this is the end of where I'm at here. And I hope if you've been watching, I hope particles are a little bit clearer to you. I hope they make a little bit more sense. It may still take some time and practice to get really comfortable with them, but thank you. I'm glad it was fun. I do not post live streams every single day. I usually do twice a week, and I do have a YouTube channel, or we have a YouTube channel, and I do post the live streams on YouTube after we're done, so you can go and back and watch those live streams later if you would like. So feel free to check back tomorrow or the next few days. You can go to YouTube and watch a recap of this as well. I'm glad you guys had so much fun. I had a lot of fun too. Thank you guys for being here. Can I move the phone so you guys can see everything? Sure. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. Again, this paper that I have down here is not currently available. This is from a book that we are currently making, and it's not scheduled to be published until like the end of this year. So this is kind of a sneak peek, sort of a sneak peek. Thanks guys. Thank you for all the kind words. I'm glad you guys found it helpful. And definitely check back on this book later at the end of this year. It'll take a lot more editing and sort of fine tuning for this book to be finished. This is just kind of a sneak peek from one of the earlier chapters. Earlier in this live stream, I also was using this book, and this book is available. This book does have some practice exercises in it as well, so it's just not as detailed as this one. Yeah. Sneak peek, yes. So coming soon, this book, well, maybe not so soon. We have another book coming out before this one. This one will be towards the end of this year. But it's basically a workbook to go along with this one. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate you guys all being here, and all the kind words and support from you guys. Really appreciate it. This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. This book will probably be called Conversational Korean Grammar Workbook, I'm guessing. But this book, again, is not finished yet. This book is still being made, so not out, not available yet. Exclusive to this live stream. Exclusive peek at our upcoming book. And thank you. Okay. I'm going to go and have dinner. But yes, hope you guys all had a great weekend. My YouTube channel is also called Goose Apple Books. There's a link to it in our bio. If you go to our link tree, there's a link to our YouTube channel. You can find it there. Find previous live streams, find previous videos that we've done on live. You can go and watch those on our YouTube. Okay, thank you guys so much. Yes, I will enjoy my dinner and hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you next time. Okay, I'm going to close out this live stream. If you have more questions, feel free to message us directly on TikTok or send us an email. Happy to answer questions. And yes, okay, I will say goodbye and I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Bye. 다음에 봐요. See you next time. 다음에 봐요.